Hello, humans. I am Scott Cannon, coming to you live on WLTH 1370 AM from the greatest city in all the world, Gary, Indiana. And this is the Counterpoint. Well, folks, it is by far my favorite holiday of the year, Labor Day. Yes, yes. If you've been listening to the Counterpoint segments I've been doing for the last 5 months, you would know that I always close my segment with God bless the working class and God bless organized labor. A lot of that has to do with my family's history of staunch union membership over the last few years. Well, over many years. But the biggest part of that is what I've learned over the past few years about organized labor and its place in the civil rights movement and helping create the greatest working class in the history of the world here in America during the mid-20th century. Today I'd like to shed light on two of the men that I have come to idolize over the past few years for their contributions to said cause. First and foremost, my man, my brother, A. Phillip Randolph. This man organized the very first American Federation of Labor supported black labor union in the United States of America, the Sleeping Car Porters, in 1937. As an avowed socialist, he used his power within the labor movement to shape policy of the U.S. government. When he planned a march on Washington during World War II to protest discrimination within the war industry workforce, President Franklin Roosevelt had to issue an executive order banning racial discrimination in factories to get him to call it off. And just a few years later, he got former president and KKK member Harry S. Truman to sign an order against racial segregation in the military by organizing the League of Nonviolent Civil Disobedience Against Military Segregation. As he rose through the ranks of the labor movement, becoming the vice president of the AFL-CIO, he fought tirelessly against racial discrimination, even against the wishes of union leaders like George Meany, and supported the movement to desegregate schools. Maybe his crowning achievement was being one of the principal organizers of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963, when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, with whom he shared a podium with, as he gave his I Have a Dream speech. He also worked with Presidents John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson on many issues that affected black people until he retired in 1968, leaving a void that could never be filled. My second labor icon today is probably considered the greatest Latino leader in the history of America, Cesar Chavez, a man who started working in the fields in California as a boy and started a movement to organize farm workers and other poor laborers. In 1952, he joined the CSO, a Latino civil rights organization that helped to register thousands of Mexican Americans to vote. Then in 1962, he started the National Farm Workers Association with Dolores Huerta, which would eventually morph into the United Farm Workers. From there, Cesar Chavez became a beacon of hope to millions of people as he traveled the world giving speeches on laborers' rights, even meeting with the Pope. While he was fighting for fair treatment and payment of workers here, he was a man so dedicated to justice, he often fasted in protest for causes that he believed in, like the cause of nonviolence. He was also a man so dedicated to maintaining the rights of his laborers that he attacked major corporations with strikes and boycotts until they relented and treated their workers fairly. When the capitalists started importing illegal immigrants from Mexico to compete with Chavez's UFW, he personally went down to the Mexican border and turned scab laborers away, as he always thought of illegal immigration as a labor issue as opposed to the racial issue that modern liberals and conservatives have turned it into. Ultimately, Cesar Chavez fought for the rights of workers until all the years of marches, protests, boycotts, and fasts took their toll and took him away from us at the age of 66. Posthumously, Bill Clinton presented his wife Helen with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1994, and in 2003, Chavez was given a high honor of being put on a postage stamp. With both of these men, you see the cause of labor is not just about workers making more money. It's about giving dignity to people who are normally stepped on and overlooked in this capitalist system, and has helped millions of black and brown people emerge from intergenerational poverty in the middle and upper class. Okay, folks, you can chop it up with me on Twitter, @TheChemistLives. Chemist is spelled with a K because I'm a product of the Gary Community School System. And we can talk about politics, music, sports. You can tell me how terrible I am at this, or you could just stick around and listen to me and Jonathan and hopefully Lloyd Fisher argue about Russia. I am Scott Cannon, and this was the Counterpoint on WLTH 1370 AM. And say it with me, God bless the working class and God bless organized labor. I'm out.